Hey, it's me again, and today I'll be showing you some bullet games that I played in Lichess. So let's see the games. The first game that I have is against a 2370 rated player. The game begins with knight f3, knight f6, and is an excellent example why you should play this opening. Now, if you remember my video on knight f3, you should know that whenever you see your knight generally likes going to e5 in most cases, and if you see b6 and the bishop is like that, you should go knight e5. Trust me, many players will actually just blunder the rook. Maybe they'll play d6, completely giving up the rook. In fact, no, yeah, so my opponent does not blunder it because he's 2300 rated player, and we have this position, and my opponent blunders the game instead in this position. You'll be wondering how. Well, he played the move knight to d7, which instantly loses the game to the beautiful knight c6, and the queen is trapped on d8. This is why you should never put your queen there and then leave no space for her. The king has more legal moves than the queen has, these two. So he castles, gives up the queen because he has no choice, and I trade a bunch of pieces and decide to open up the center for all of these pieces. So I play rook e1, I play queen c2, and he blunders the bishop. See, I told you, that's why you should play this opening. And then he plays his rook b8, which is kind of frustrating because now he attacks two pieces. But I just play this nice idea, knight e5, giving up the bishop because I already won a bishop over there, but getting this one and then winning all of these pawns. So this is just easy conversion. And now I check, I take, and here something scary happens. This position repeats once, repeats twice, and almost repeats thrice. In fact, if he had moved the knight and I had gone there and he had blocked, it would have been a draw. So he played g5, and then scared of this, I played h4 and decided to move a pawn so that the position changes. And then my opponent flagged on this move. And so it was a very fun game that I played. Alright, let's move on to the next game. This is a game that I'm playing against a 2270 rated player. It opened with knight f3 and my opponent just blundered a pawn. But fine, he was pre-moving. So we had this, and I gave him the opportunity to win a pawn in my position, like on this move, but he didn't. I guess I would have got bishop b7 after this. So he just played that, and here I had a choice of playing the move bishop takes a3 and followed by knight c3, but I instead played c5. So we have rook c1, and I decided to lock the position up and start to advance on this side of the board. And then he plays the move knight c2. Now, remembering a bunch of games in which I've got time trouble, I decided to play fast and just start playing. And then in this position, I realized, wait, isn't the bishop trapped? Similar to how the queen was trapped in this game, I thought that my opponent's bishop got trapped. But no, because you can take the knight, freeing up the square. But this position is clearly better for white in this black in this position. I get my queen out. Now I could have played moves like f3 and e3, but I instead see that this pawn is hanging and take the knight and take the pawn. Now he has bishop c3, which I did anticipate, but then I also saw that I could take the queen. And in this position, I thought my knight stopping b7, so if I develop the knight, then the rook is gonna come here attacking the bishop. But I'm like, I need to develop these pieces, I can't just keep them. So I played knight c6, and then I realized I blundered the game, because after rook d7, not only attack the bishop but also that square. Now apparently there is rook f7 which saves the game, but neither my opponent nor I saw that. So then I traded a bunch of pieces, and we have the following position, and you will realize that I only have 20 seconds remaining, whereas my opponent has 32. Now if you haven't played bullet, this is a bad situation for me, because 10 seconds is a lot, and you'll see why and he didn't take the pawn. As I start to pre-move, because I feel the pressure, and I'm starting to play fast now, pre-moving every move, and also missing the fact that that's a free bishop. So I play that, and then I just blunder a pawn, and I decided to trade rooks. Okay, because without rooks, if you're low on time, try to trade it into an opposite colored bishop and game, or at least trade all of the pieces so that it's easier for you. Because more pieces, the more chance of you getting checked, in which you would have to move the king. So I get the king up to a light square so that black doesn't check. And also, if you realize, my time is 8 seconds because I'm pre-moving. So I give up that pawn to get this because it's only 4 squares away from queening. And I start pushing my pawn until he stopped it, and this is just a draw. But my opponent played b3 for some reason. Actually, b3 is a very smart move. Probably anticipated that I'll pre-move that. So he played that, which I did pre-move, and then he took here. But in this position, I thought he's gonna move pawn e4, stopping mate. To my surprise, he took, and I queened. But I only have 2 seconds, whereas he has 3 seconds. This is very intense. As the game goes on, I only have 0.09 seconds remaining. Oh my god. My opponent has 3.6. I start pre-moving as I just blunder my queen. And then I check the king. And he blunders his bishop. But I blunder my queen. Oh my god, I still have 0.9 seconds somehow. And then it continues. And as I just promptly blunder my queen right into the face of the bishop, but he doesn't, and eventually he flags in this position. I'll show you the clip of the game right now. Alright, let's continue the video. The next game is against a 2330 rated player. The game began with d4, and this is a similar opening to what happened in this game, other than the fact that it's pretty similar. Until a point I play the move pawn e5 and pawn e4. So it's another example of a locked position like we saw in that game. And I played queen c7, attacking the pawn, and then I decided to go after this pawn. So basic game, and then I had a choice to save which bishop. I could take, giving up this one, or I could let him take and give up this one. So I decided to give up this one. There's no real reason why I did that. So he played bishop c3 and I decided to put a knight on d5. And I always have e3 after queen f5, e3 ideas, weakening my opponent's king. So I play knight c3. I'm like, okay, let's also trade a pair of bishops, and he just blunders his rook. Okay, so I continue the game and I play knight d5 and queen d3. In fact, in this position, I actually thought my queen was trapped, but you can see from the time I spent 3 seconds, I was covering on my queen, and then I realized only this was the square that I could go to. So that's a little bit of a scare, and I just couldn't see a way forward. I guess I should have come here and there, but then I would lose the pawn. And if I put this rook here, which I did, I then realized, oh, this is very scary. So I moved it back, and there's nothing I can do. Now he's threatening to trap my bishop, but I go f5, cutting the connection with the pawn. But at least if he takes, I take, and I have something. Well, that's what I thought after he played g5. I have nothing. I checked, took the pawn, pushed. I'm trying to desperately get something. I'm so desperate. I actually play f3, hoping he will, but he sees it. And now look, as I only have 8 seconds remaining on the clock versus 15 seconds, I start pre-moving. I just take the bishop because I'm under so much pressure. Like, I can't go here or I'll lose that. So I just take the bishop and I start checking. I have 4 seconds versus 11 seconds. You'll be wondering how could I have saved the game? Well, this is when my bullet instinct came on. 3.1 seconds. Watch as I start pre-moving every single move. I have 0.7 seconds remaining, and I start pre-moving, but this check was too much for him. as white flagged in this position. If you want a clip of this video, I'll just display it right now. This game ended in 9 moves. Don't believe me? Alright, look at the game. This was played against a 2300 rated player. This is the power of knight f3. So, in this position I tried something sneaky. I tried to play the move e4. Now that blunders a pawn with his bullet, and as I expected he pre-moved, which let me get a very nice position. Now, in this position, trust me, I know this trick. Whenever a knight is on e8, it blocks the queen. Don't take the pawn. The queen will be lost. And my opponent resigned in this position. Alright, let's go to the final game. Final game, I'm playing against a 2313 rated player. The game begins with naturally knight f3, and we have a symmetrical position, and he plays b6. Now in this position, for some reason I go e4 and e5, but it turns out to be working out very nicely as I play knight g5, and I'm threatening to win the game with c4. He plays h6, and a bit overexcited I play move c4. Could have I played knight f7? Let me see. Okay, it was an idea. I played c4 and I got this very beautiful center in this position. He played e6, and maybe I should have kept the center, then maybe like knight c3 or something, but I decided to take the pawn, which is in fact the best move. Okay, and get a free pawn and get the bishop back. So I'm up a pawn, and this game continues as I expected him to take and then take the pawn, and maybe it's drawish after it, but he didn't even do that. He just played queen e7, and I played e6. The idea is actually very nice. It's to win back the pawn on g5, and I realized there are so many like weak squares around this black camp. So I go there. He doesn't trade, so I take, and I still see a lot of weak sort of squares, and he has a dark square bishop, so he can't really protect these squares. He moves up, and I check the king, and I get my knight to e5, and then after knight c4 I saw one of the coolest moves that you would have ever thought and I would have played. I played f3 to guard the knight, and after takes I realized something. Bishop c1. What? Why would you go all the way back on developing a piece? The idea is my opponent just took the pawn, and once that would naturally think the knight is an attack. Even if my opponent does not think the knight is an attack, my opponent would naturally move the knight, because the bishop has a job of guarding the knight. So my opponent moved the knight and blundered a fork in which I have a choice to take any rook for free, and I take that one, and it's a double check, and my opponent resigned. Though maybe it was better to take that one with check, and if it comes back I go there, or if the king comes forward, I don't know, maybe some mating attack, maybe takes and check. Is that mate? Oh, it's actually mate. In fact, g4 and bishop g5 is also mate. Wow, these games were so awesome. Alright, bye, see you later, and don't forget to like and subscribe this video. Thank you.